See this idea of the passage below as a draft. For the rhetorical analysis part, it's like, this is an excerpt from a book about frogs, right? Whatever it is. So this is your cue that this is a writing multiple choice. So remember how in rhetorical analysis, we have always said, like, don't annotate, you don't have the time, like, just quickly read and skim the passage, right? And then you will reread as you answer questions. This one, we're going to mark stuff down, even if there is a new copy on each page. We're going to jot down two things, the main idea of each paragraph, and then what the central argument is at the end, because this is like a student essay, okay? So the other thing that we're going to mark is we're going to mark anything that we find weird or like kind of off, like this doesn't sound right, like this doesn't fit, like we're going to mark that because usually there'll probably be a question about it, all right? So here we go. After an unsuccessful search, NASA determined that instead of following a trajectory that would allow the orbiter to enter orbit around Mars, it came too close to the planet, causing it to enter and disintegrate in Mars's atmosphere. The culprit was a discrepancy in the software that controlled the spacecraft's thrusters. One team of engineers had calculated the force needed from the thrusters in pounds, an imperial unit, while another team calculated the force in newtons, a metric unit. Okay. So we start off with the idea that NASA and the orbiter went around Mars. Okay. Then we get into it disintegrated because of conversion between metric and imperial. The other thing that I'm looking at is I'm looking at this idea as after. It's a weird way to start an essay. After an unsuccessful search. After what? The orbiter mission failure is just one reason, albeit an extremely expensive one, that the United States needs to abandon future Mars survey missions. Most of the world uses the metric system. Okay, wait, this is weird. Going from abandoning the survey missions to the idea of the metric system, right? Most of the world uses the metric system, a decimal measurement system that allows for simple scaling and calculations by adding the relevant prefixes. 1 kilometer, for example, is 1,000 meters, and 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. The imperial measurement system used in the United States assigns values haphazardly. 1 mile is 5,280 feet long, while 1 pound is 16 ounces. Okay. So this is like the definition of metric, and this is the definition of imperial. The United States is one of only 3 countries. The others are Liberia and Myanmar that have not fully adopted the metric system. Not only are conversion errors such as the orbiter one costly, they can be deadly. Okay, that's a weird transition. I mean, they're still on topic, but it's just a weird transition. Wrong dosing of medicine due to unit confusion, teaspoons versus milliliters, results in trips to the emergency room each year. Switching to the metric system would also benefit United States industries. The European Union, for example, has been requiring its member states to standardize their metric system since 1971. Okay. So this is like the consequences of no metric, and this would be the benefits of metric. Converting to metric may seem difficult, but the United States already uses it more than you might think, from races to soft drinks to high school science classes. It's time for the United States to make the leap to metric and everything else it measures. So this is just how we use it now. And the central argument is in there, right? So like the big argument is the idea that the U.S. needs to switch to metric. So that's just the quick, that what we do as we go along, and I think it will save us time as we are working through questions, because the revising and editing is all going to have to do with the topics of the body paragraphs, or the argument of the overall thing. So we're going to still go through and annotate our answers. I just don't think we're going to have distractors as much as we did in the other ones. And I think it's going to be a little bit easier to explain why something is not right in these. All right, so let's look at the first one. Which of the following sentences, if placed before sentence 1, would both capture the audience's interest and provide the most effective introduction to the topic of the paragraph? Well, the topic of the paragraph is the idea that our orbiter crashed because of the lack of everybody being on the same measuring system, right? And notice I look back at my notes and I'm like, okay, after an unsuccessful search, after what, right? So we're looking for that answer. NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter was launched on December 11th, 1998 from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida after an unsuccessful search. So it launched and then we looked for it. Does that fit? Why would you look for something that just launched? Right? So this does not fit because it launched, then what? Right? Still, we're asking the question like, after what? So no. On September 3rd, 1999, NASA officials were aghast when the 125 million Mars Climate Orbiter vanished as it prepared to enter the red planet's orbit. It launched, it vanished, and then we searched. Right? Okay, so that could be it because we actually look for so this idea of it vanishing answers, like that answers after what? As part of a new set of missions intended to survey the planet Mars, the Mars Climate Orbiter was launched by NASA scientists to study Mars climate and weather after an unsuccessful search. Can't just say it sounds weird. Why does it not fit? Yeah, it doesn't explain why we were looking for it. When NASA officials lost contact with their Mars Climate Orbiter, it lost contact. That's why we would look for something, right? On September 23rd, 1999, they immediately instigated a search, for the spacecraft using NASA's Deep Space Network of Radio Antenna. Okay, that one works too, right? Because it's after what? After they lost contact, then they searched for it. And then it was unsuccessful. The Mars Climate Orbiter carried 2 instruments when it attempted and failed to enter Mars's orbit in September 1999. The Mars Climate Orbiter Color Imager and the Pressure Modulated Infrared Radiometer. Does that fit? Why?
They know for sure that
it alluded to it, but it doesn't like.
It attempted and failed, right, to enter the orbit. So that's why they might go search for it. Yeah, I mean this is not the focus. These 2 instruments doesn't have anything to do with this idea of where things went wrong. Okay, so now we have 2 answers. Then we look back and we say which one grabs the audience's attention more and which one is more effective. What's the difference between the 2? Which one would we consider a hook, a good hook? Why?
Because of damage. That's
Okay, so aghast.
Then it says how much it costs, which is like $7.
Yep. That is the difference between the two. So B is your correct answer. There is nothing in D that is an attention grabber or that best sets us up for a reason. We lost $125 million because of a miscalculation. Holy crap. That's why we could save the United States $125 million right there if we had just been the metric. Okay. Now, move to question 10. In sentence 2, reproduced below, and I like that they do that, right? The writer wants an effective transition from the introductory paragraph to the main idea of the passage. So the introductory paragraph starts in that first one, right? NASA, the orbiter, conversion to metric. So, notice the sentence is recreated below. The culprit was a discrepancy in the software that controlled the spacecraft's thrusters. One team of engineers had calculated the force needed from the thrusters in pounds, an imperial unit, while another team calculated the force in newtons, a metric unit. Which of the following versions of the underlined text best achieves his purpose of transitioning to the main idea of the passage? The main idea is that we need to convert, right? Now, A and these, when you always look at these, are always going to be as it is now. Make no change, right? That's from STAR, from SAT. This is the least chosen answer because they are not testing anything when they say make no change. They're not testing your knowledge of anything, right? So if you get it narrowed down to 2 and you can't definitely say the other one is wrong for this reason, then you choose the other one, right? This is always your last choice. I would say out of one passage, out of like 9, 10 questions, maybe 1, at most 2 would be make no change, okay? So, the culprit was a discrepancy in the software that controlled the spacecrafts. Now listen, we're going towards the main idea. Does this already go to the main idea? Yes. So maybe there's something that is better said or is more convincing. The culprit was a discrepancy in the software that controlled the spacecraft's thrusters. The data from the spacecraft and the data from NASA's computers on the ground had not been matching up for months since the launch of the orbiter.
that doesn't follow the idea.
It doesn't, yeah, this doesn't support the argument about metric versus imperial. The culprit was a discrepancy in the software that controlled the spacecraft's thrusters. 2 different engineering teams, one from Lockheed Martin Astronautics and another from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, had worked on creating different parts of the software. Now, if that could have been in addition, like that might have been the reason why, right? Another team, like why they were 2 separate teams, but this replaces that.
It seems kind of irrelevant information.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. The culprit was a discrepancy in the software that controlled the spacecraft's thrusters, software that was used to calculate the trajectory the orbiter needed to take in order to enter Mars's orbit successfully. Do what? Say it again.
It's just more concise than what's been said.
Yeah, but it just says the calculations, right? But it still doesn't address the metric versus imperial. That's our central argument. That's why it was so important for us to do that in the beginning, right? 4 thrusters were used for trajectory correction maneuvers as well as pitch and yaw control, while another 4 were used for roll control. The focus is on what? on the thrusters, not on metric versus imperial. So now that I said it's the least chosen answer, can we say that there's another one that might be better than not changing it? Am I confident in why I marked the other ones out? Yeah, so I'm confident in choosing A. All right, I need you to do, in the next 7 minutes, 11 through 15, with the explanations that we have out to the side. You may work with a partner. Ready, set, go. Got 7 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, one more minute. All right, here we go. All right. Number 11. What is your correct answer? This one's easy, right? Yeah. So this one, and this is where I think like where 9 and 10 will take a little more time. If we do our work, the other work that we said to do, this one is like no, right? Obviously, no. This one is what I would call a distractor because in like line 6 it does talk about other countries, but I think that's the only reason why. And then this one, we never talk about STEM, so that wouldn't be an answer. So yeah, C is easy answer. All right, number 12. I think this is another one that I think is an easy answer, but even though it gives you sentence 5 below, you have to go and read what was in sentence 4, right? So we look back at sentence 4 and we go, oh yeah, it defined metric. We marked that, right? So it moved from metric to imperial. Okay, so would you move from the metric and then go furthermore, the imperial measurement system? Why is furthermore not correct? What does furthermore suggest?
Like it's an extension.
Yeah, it's an extension. It's furthering of like the topic before. And it's not, it's switching. For example, here's the metric system. For example, the imperial, because what?
Not showing anything.
We're not showing. And an example means it's something that you've already talked about. So example of the previous topic. Similarly, it's the exact opposite, right? So it's not the same. That's the point of the essay. By contrast, yes, duh. In fact, what would be in fact? In fact would be the same as what other answer choice? For example, I would say or furthermore. So D is the easy answer there. So like those two I think would take less time, it'd be quicker, right? All right, 41, right? Okay, so let me go through real quick. 13, what's your correct answer? D is correct because it's the only one that has benefits. The other ones, this is a fact, there's no benefits. This one is a fact, there are no benefits. This one says there could be, but it doesn't tell you what they are. 14 is B. Again, you go to this idea of this means, what does this mean? What this? You can't say this means the United States must convert. The United States is one of only 3 countries. Well, we're only one of 3 countries, therefore we must convert, right? That's why this one only makes sense. 15. Is C. All right, tomorrow we'll work with a partner on another passage and more questions. All right.